Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner. And joining me from Iowa City, Iowa, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, you just saw Carolina drop their second straight game, 93-80 to Iowa. Really good performance from the Hawkeyes. I think we saw a potential national championship level or caliber team in the Hawkeyes tonight. But first thing I want to talk about, AJ, we knew Carolina had to defend the three. You've kind of talked about it all week a lot in terms of we knew this wasn't going to be an instance of Carolina just had to focus on stopping Luka Garza. They had to stop the 3-2, and they struggled with that. Let's see, Iowa 42.5% from three-point land, hit a lot, especially in that first 10 or so minutes of the game that really allowed them to get out on top. But Carolina knew they needed to defend that and overall didn't do a great job defending the three.
No, most of them were wide open. Iowa did a nice job swinging the ball around. Iowa did a nice job being them. They were Iowa. I said in our 5 keys going in and some other stuff that we did that Iowa really knows itself. They have a lot of guys back from last year, pretty much everybody back from last year. They're an older team. They have 8 red shirts on the roster. They have a lot of 21, 22, and 23-year-olds. And there was a stretch tonight where the average age of a Hawkeye on the court was like 22.3, and the average age of a Tar Heel was around 19.3.
Yeah,
that's a big difference when you think about the amount of games in the Big Ten these guys have played versus the 5 freshmen that were on the floor for Carolina. So, but the older Tar Heels kind of had some issues as well. Everybody struggled with the 3, and it's not just perimeter guys. It's just in general. There was a stretch there where Iowa was getting so much on the perimeter, everything that it wanted. And I was looking for some barking on the Carolina side, and I didn't see anybody do that. And I think that's one of the things that will grow from this because I saw it later in the game. So they didn't defend the 3 well. I asked Roy after the game, where does it begin? And he said, you got to deny. You can't let your guy get the ball. It's not how you defend once a guy gets the ball. You don't see many blocked 3-point attempts. You don't even see a lot of highly contested 3-point shots. The key to perimeter defense is not letting guys get the ball. And that's what Roy said tonight. And way too often, Iowa just ran, almost looked like dummy offense on the perimeter at times with the number of open threes they got, 7 of their first 11. And then they went through a stretch where they weren't hitting. Carolina took the lead, and then boom, boom, boom. The usual suspects. All 17 of Iowa's threes were by the guys you knew were going to take them going in. Hannon had 7. Frederick had 5. Wieskamp had 5. Roy talked about those guys yesterday when we had them on Zoom in the afternoon, and they were the ones who made all of them. So they knew they were going to shoot them. They knew who was going to shoot them, and they didn't keep them from shooting them. And as a result, they lost the game.
Yeah, exactly. And just switch to a quick positive real quick. We saw a big push from North Carolina during the game, 53 points in an 8.5 minute stretch for the Tar Heels. That looks like a traditional North Carolina basketball team. That's more accustomed to what we've become to see from Roy Williams teams in particular. That's a big positive for your Carolina. They scored 80 points as well as a team that has struggled multiple times this year, especially last week, to even get over the 70-point mark. So a couple of positives right there that kind of show glimpses of what this team can be.
Yeah, they look like Carolina. Part of that stretch, the stretch started in the first half.
Yeah.
When they closed pretty strong in the first half, and then Iowa hit that dagger 3 at the end of the half. But they were kind of getting it going. They were getting in transition some, and Caleb Love had a beautiful feed to Puff Johnson for a bucket on the break.
Yeah, that was
kind of like how Caleb looked to get guys involved a lot more tonight than he did last week in Asheville. As a result, he had more assists than he did. Remember, he had 1 assist and 9 turnovers the last 2 games in Asheville. He had 4 assists at the half tonight. I don't know what he ended up with. I haven't had a chance to look yet. We've been flying like crazy here since the game ended. But the Tar Heels assisted on 22 of 31 baskets tonight, and a big part of that was that stretch. They were getting the ball inside. That's their MO, get the ball inside, and they were getting buckets. 3 of their first 4 buckets, I think, in the second half were dunks. One of them was after a turnover, but 2 of them were in the half court. So they were sealing pretty well. They did a nice job finding the guys inside. They did a nice job moving the ball to create those lanes, those entry lanes. So they look like Carolina in a lot of ways, and they really got a nice lift from Andrew Platek, who, by the way, this is the most confident I've seen him offensively against a really good team. And he gave them, and he was on the floor and they took the lead. I mean, he was out there when they really made that push to actually take the lead. In fact, it was his basket a baseline drive with 9.5 minutes left. They put the Heels up 68-67, but then boom, Iowa on that 14-0 run. And Carolina's going to focus on those runs, giving up the runs, how it happens, and then how they respond to it. They in that second run, it looked to me like they allowed some of it to get to them mentally. And that's something that will come with time, with experience, and that will be something that will come with making a stop. Stopping runs are not about scoring yourself to match a team. It's about keeping them from scoring. And they didn't do that early in the game. They didn't do that in that stretch. But otherwise, that 18.5-minute stretch was really nice basketball. And it's a precursor of things to come, Jacob. They're going to be more and more like that as they go on. Iowa's maybe not the greatest defensive team, but they're good. And this is a team that could win the national championship. And the Tar Heels really look good in that long stretch in their building here tonight. So that's something UNC fans can take away from this in a positive.
Exactly. AJ, last thing I want to touch on before we wrap this one up. Judging from the press conferences, I know Garrison said it a lot. He answered a couple questions with, we've just got to stop turning the ball over and we've got to take better shots. He said that countless times during his press conference. Roy also said some things. Would you agree that this team, over the past couple games in particular, probably from tonight especially, kind of knows what they need to work on now? They've got a big gap in between tonight and their next game, with the Elon game being canceled on Saturday, and as of right now, nothing being rescheduled for that. Do you think this team feels a little bit more confident in what they can be and what they need to do to get there?
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, they kind of like you open up the guts and you let everything kind of pour out and you see everything inside. And pardon the description there, but
it's a good description.
That's what Texas and this was.
Yeah.
So we kind of see where, okay, here's some areas maybe they won't be great in. Here's some areas they can be much better in, like taking care of the ball. They can be better shooting free throws. They can be better defending the three because they can keep guys from – it's not like they're not gifted enough to keep guys from getting the ball. And I also think they kind of know what works now. They needed that 18.5-minute stretch that we just talked about. They needed that Carolina stretch. The bench was into it. I mean, they were pointing to the passer. I've seen – I don't know how many games I've seen this program play over time, Jacob, and they looked like Carolina. This is only December 8th. There's a lot of time left, a lot of games left to be played. And if you look at the last two games, the two losses, they lost to old men in Texas, 5 returning starters. They lost to old men tonight. They lost to Texas at the buzzer. An old guy got off a contested shot over a freshman and got the roll and they won. Okay. Yeah. Tonight, they were up with 9.5 minutes left after being down 16 in this building against probably the oldest team in the country.
Yeah.
And a team that could very well win. I've covered a lot of national championship teams, not just at Carolina. I've covered 6 national championship games. I know what national champions look like. And in 2020, 2021, this looked like a national championship type team. And Carolina had them with 9.5 minutes left. They had the lead. They found ways to scrap and get back in it. There's a lot of positives that Roy can take from this. I think he knows his team's got some grit. They got some fight. They've got some tenacity in them, and they won't go away because they've been down a lot early in the season. Other teams have had big runs against them, and they fought back. They did it against Vegas out of the gate. They did it against Texas. They did it again here tonight. So I think Roy knows he's got that intangible, and that shouldn't go away. And then some of the other things they're not doing well, most of them are correctable. I still think they got some issues at the wing. Leaky did hit a 3 tonight. He's got to be able to hit threes. He doesn't look super comfortable taking it just yet. But although the one he hit tonight was a little more comfortable looking, maybe if he hits a few more, that'll change. And they just got to take care of the ball better. And I think that will come with time. Caleb did look to get guys involved a lot tonight. Some of his turnovers were just trying to make things happen. He'll get better at that stuff. So this team's got a high end. They're not there right now. I mean, if the high end is out of the picture right here, they're kind of like right here. And they just kind of bounce around like this a little bit. And in a while, they're going to bounce around up here. And maybe by February, they're bouncing around up here. And that's where you want. And maybe the only way for them to get there is to have stuff like what happened last Wednesday in Asheville, have stuff like what happened here tonight in Iowa City.
Yeah.
So they know. Roy knows his team now.
Oh, yeah. And that's huge. That's huge. We know what Roy can do when he really knows what he needs to work on and what his team needs to do to be great moving forward. But that's going to do it tonight for us. Thanks, as always, AJ. Carolina losing to Iowa at Iowa, 93-80. AJ, we'll let you get back to it, man. But as always, guys, be sure to like this video. Be sure to share it. Be sure to subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.